And welcome back to John Bachman now. So 68% of likely voters say they do favor some kind of federal legislation to ban TikTok here in the United States. This is according to a new poll by Rasmussen Reports. Take a look at that number there. From December 9th, this was the poll. It includes 43% who strongly support a TikTok ban. And as you see there, just about 25% say they're somewhat in support of a ban of TikTok.
Well, the governor is also signing an executive order that will ban state employees and contractors from accessing that on their devices. She's also calling for the South Dakota Investment Council to review all of the state's investments, specifically to look for any ties to Chinese companies that pose a national security threat. The governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, joins us now. Governor, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you and talk about this today. It's so important that we take action like this as states to protect our people. I did sign an executive order on banning TikTok off of state devices and our servers. It is now inaccessible to our employees, but also it will be a criminal offense if they do access this, because we know how the Chinese Communist government is using this to gain data and information on American citizens.
The warnings have been out there about Chinese big tech for a while. It started with Huawei and ZTE, these other companies, and now we know more about TikTok. And tell us about your latest move here to have the South Dakota Investment Council review any of the state's investments in Chinese-owned companies. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've also taken action in this area too, recognizing that our South Dakota Investment Council, which invests funds to help the retirements and pensions of state employees, could be investing in communist companies, also Chinese companies, and that would not be something that would further the interests of protecting the United States of America. So I asked the South Dakota Investment Council to within 7 days, give me an evaluation, give me an assessment of how our funds are being invested, and if they are being invested in funds that support the Chinese government or they're companies that are established in China, that we change our course of action, that we no longer do that. In fact, already our investment council has divested out of 2 Chinese companies, and I do expect to receive that report within a couple of days so that we can take action to ensure that we're not supporting this country that has been our enemy. Listen, we all know that China wants to destroy the United States of America. They hate us, they are our enemy, and we should not be investing in any kind of a company that supports their communist policies.
Is there anything specifically that made you say now is the time to do this regarding TikTok or this other policy with the investments? What was the kind of tipping point for you?
Well, we're learning more and more every day about the actions of China. You know, we for years have known how they've manipulated their currency. They've stolen our IP. We know they're building up their military. We know for many years that their goal is to weaken the United States of America. And now we're recognizing how much they're using technology against us to gather data and information on United States citizens to use against us. So you put this weak president in the White House, a president who is not protecting people. We have to do all we can as states to do what we can to protect our citizens. So this executive order and this action that I'm taking is incredibly important to make sure that personal information of South Dakotans is safe. I'll also be taking action on making sure that China can't come in and buy up our ag land, that they can't buy up property or have long-term leases here, that is not a foothold that they're going to be gaining in our state as well.
That's another massive area of concern for a lot of folks. I know Greta Van Susteren has been out there in that part of the country looking at that as well. I want to talk to you, too, about Title 42, because that's ending next week. I know every state in this country, whether they want to admit it or not, are preparing for the realities that will take place once this ends. We also saw last week Border Patrol agent Raul Gonzalez was killed in an ATV crash while chasing a group of illegal migrants crossing the Texas border. A deeply personal story for everyone involved there, of course. But tell us how the immigration is affecting South Dakota and what you guys are doing to prepare for the end of Title 42.
Well, listen, it's shocking and shameful to me what this president is doing to our country, how he's refusing to enforce law and order and protect our citizens. You know, a country with no borders is no country at all. And that's essentially what Joe Biden has done to the United States of America. So we're preparing. We don't live on the border, but we deal with the ramifications of it every single day. We deal with the drug flow that comes over that border, that comes through South Dakota. It's been dramatically increased, the human trafficking effects. We've been very strong on making sure that our citizens are all United States citizens. But this kind of a policy is going to weaken our country, and it's going to allow those who want to harm us to come into this country unfiltered and unfettered, and they're going to do damage to our country. So South Dakota has had, and I have deployed my National Guard down to the border to help secure it. We have had our National Guard aircraft and helicopters down there as well, helping on surveillance and stopping drugs and partnering with Border Patrol for many, many months. In fact, over a year and a half. We'll continue to do that. But the only reason that governors like myself have to take that kind of action is because the president isn't doing it. And it's incredibly dangerous to have a president like this in the White House that will not protect our border.
Governor, you know, your book is out from earlier this year. It's called Not My First Rodeo, Lessons from the Heartland. For anyone who's had a chance to read it, they know this is the type of book that someone might write if they were going to maybe pursue a higher office, run for president someday. I'm not going to ask you if you're going to run for president. I'm just going to ask you this. What does your travel schedule look like with Iowa and New Hampshire perhaps on the agenda coming up this spring and this summer?
Well, I'm in South Dakota this week. We're getting a heck of a winter storm, so I will be here. But, you know, honestly, I'm going to continue to tell South Dakota's story. What we have done here in our state is conservative American principles. We've enforced the law, we've given our people freedom and liberty, and we are experiencing historic economic success. Our people's incomes are going up here faster than anywhere else. Our kids are doing better in the classroom. We are a success story, and it's because we embraced the American dream and allowed people to have their constitutional rights. So that story and telling that's incredibly powerful because this country is desperate for some hope. And they need to know that what we believe as Americans, it actually works, and it creates a situation where people can be happier.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.